Hi, Neil here with Covers Camo, your source for custom seat covers. Today we're doing the install on the 2023 Toyota Tacoma double cab. We did the Realtree extra insert and trim on this set. Gonna be a really cool looking set. Let's jump into this install. We're getting started on this install. Again, it's the 2023 Toyota Tacoma. And these are the cloth seats. The driver's seat has an electric control, so power control to move it forward and back. There's a front bucket seats with a hard console like this that comes up and down right here. And we'll actually do this cover first on the video. I've already installed the passenger side backrest, bottom, and headrest cover. And then also the rear seat, I've installed the 40 section backrest, bottom, and because they're pretty much exact install steps as the driver's seat over here, and then the 60 section back here will be very similar to that 40 section back. So we'll show you how to do that, and we'll get started. Going here first with this console lid right here. And now this is going to be the cover going on. Again, the material we're using today is the canvas, and it's the Realtree extra material. Great material here, going to be durable and repel the water and dirt, grime, and the waterproof type fabric here. So we're gonna get this pulled up. There's an elastic right here, and that's gonna be the front end right here. So that's gonna be on the front side, and then we're gonna stretch this back. Actually, what I might do, just because this back can sometimes be a little tricky to cap on the back side. This particular console doesn't have any Velcro on the back side, just the way it's designed. You actually don't need to have it, so it'll just cap on the back, and then there's gonna be elastics on the side that kind of hold it there. And it's cap this back side first here. So I'm capping this back here first. I'm gonna try to line up this cover before I stretch that forward. There's a back sew line right here that I'm lining up, and then once that backside is capped there, good. You can see the material is underneath here now, like that, right there. Okay, so once we have that, now we can stretch this forward and pull that over like that here. Now we'll just finish working this around. And that is how you get the console on. Not too bad of a start here. Get that console lid cover on right there, and just get it smoothed out as good as you can here. Okay, and that's nice having this console protected where you rest your right arm here as you're driving, just so you don't wear out that leather or that rubber top that's on there. Now the next piece that we're gonna do is the bottom, driver bottom, actually, because the bottom needs to be installed first because it's gonna connect to the backrest here. There's gonna be a strip of Velcro on the backside, or on the top of the driver bottom, and then the backrest is gonna come down and connect to that. So here is the driver bottom cover, and then this is the back side of the cover with this Velcro right here, and you're gonna see there's Velcro on the underside right here, and that's going to stick down to the underside and back side of the seat. And there's this top Velcro, and that's what I was talking about, is that this top Velcro is going to, the backrest is going to have a felt piece that's actually going to stick to this. So that's why we want to do the bottom seat cover first. So we're going to start getting this fit on here. Move that wire so you can see it a little bit better. And what I'm going to start doing is just fit this into place. I'm going to get this, this is a locking strap that's going to go down to the bottom of the seat and lock down, and get that out of the way for a second. Just start to get this in place here. Now, one thing that you want to do is bring your seat as high as it'll go. This is a nice tip because we're gonna put some straps and buckles underneath the seat here. And raising that up as high as it'll go will give you more space underneath that. So we got that in position as high as it'll go. Now we're gonna do a few close-ups on how to get this bottom installed here. Now we got a close-up here on the driver bottom seat cover. So what we have is we have these front straps right here, okay? And these straps are gonna go underneath, along with the cover, is gonna go underneath this front plastic. Toyota likes to do this. They like to put kind of a plastic bar up on the front here. Not sure why, but that's a Toyota thing. And we're gonna drop that down right here. Not all Tacomas will have this, but I think since this one's a power seat, they ended up doing kind of this front section. So we're gonna tuck that seat cover underneath that, okay? And then the straps will come underneath here, and then we'll take those straps, go underneath, all the way back to these buckles, okay? And these buckles, first, one of the first things we need to do is push this through the back side of the seat right here and get it towards the back side, and then this is also going to tuck into this plastic right here. I'll show you that. The other thing you're going to want to do is on the back side of your seat, there's this seat bib right here. And this is called the seat bib. It's just kind of a little, I don't know, extra piece of material that they put on the back side of the seat to cover the underside down here. And to release this, there's going to be two of these hooks right here, these little plastic J hooks. And those come underneath, and they're clipped onto a solid spring underneath. You just reach underneath, just push on them, and typically you just need to push forward like that, and then it will unhook off of the spring, and then you can lift that up like that. So you can see I've started this process of passing this underneath this plastic right here, and again it just goes right through like that, and then we're gonna continue to tuck this down inside the plastic there. Now you'll want to use the included trim tool, this plastic trim tool, to tuck in the fabric here on the front side like that, and around this side right here as well. A couple other things is there's this draw cord right here on the outside. This can go on the outside of the seatbelt right here. Okay, so that's going to go on the outside. That's actually going to go around to the back. We're going to tie that up here later. So I'm just going to put it right there for the second so I can get it on the back side. Next thing is this side of the draw cord right here. So this is what we want to drop down between the seat cushion and this plastic right here. So that's the goal. And every vehicle is a little different, so you kind of just have to find the space. But the goal is we're going to take this and drop it down and push it down, and it's going to drop down underneath right here. And we're going to get that and take it towards the back. Sometimes what I need to do is take this and take my install tool and put a little piece of tape on it, and then I push that through like that right there. That is helpful. Sometimes I might do that if this one seems kind of tight. So I did decide to tape this to help me push this down, and check out the position of where I'm going to drop this down. Right about here, I found there was the most space in the seat to drop this down. So it's just going to push down like that right there, down to here. Then you can see now it's passed through right here. Okay, and so then I can take that, and then I'll take it off of this, untape this, and then I can finish tucking this in right here. So I'm going to finish tucking that in right here. I got this draw cord. I'm going to pass that towards the back because that's going to tie off on the back side right there with that other one that I passed through. The other thing I'm going to do before I move to the back side to work over there is I'm going to take this material right here. So again, this has all the buckles back here and this locking strap. I'm going to push that through right here towards the back side like that. And Tacomas are a little easier to do that, but if it gets tight on that with that Velcro, if that's catching, you can wrap your plastic bag, the seat cover comes in, and then push that through inside the plastic bag. That helps too, to slide that through. So I've finished tucking that in right here. So that's looking good there. I have this pushed through to the back side. I'm going to show you what it's looking like here on the back side. So here on the back side of the seat, you can see there's these 3 buckles that we've passed through. Here's this Velcro that again is going to connect with the backrest cover once we get to that. But now we've got these buckles here. That's great. And then here is this middle strap and buckle. And this is going to go underneath the seat. It's going to go to a solid bar. Let's see if I can do it right now. So I can show you this. It's going to go to a solid bar and then back to itself. Okay, this is a great design here to make sure that the seat cover never slips forward. That's a big problem with a lot of seat covers. They end up sliding forward on you and just super annoying having to readjust it. But this one locks it down. So that's gone to a solid bar. It's coming back here to this buckle right here. And then we're going to go through the middle slot right here. And then we're going to go to the outside slot. So that one first and then to that one. Okay, and then that will cinch that down and that'll lock that backside of that seat down so it never slides forward here. Here is the draw cord that we were looking at earlier. On one side, I've tied a noose right here, like that. And then the other side, I've taken it around, looped it around that. And this is what's I'm gonna use just to adjust my tightness right here. Now what I'm gonna do is when I wanna adjust this and pull this and get a little bit tighter, I'm actually just gonna pull on this one straight back like that right there. Once I have my desired tightness, then I'm gonna make that corner like that right there, finish tightening it up with this adjustment method right here, and then tie that off. And that's gonna be the best way to do that. And this really just needs to be snug. You don't have to crank on this too hard. Really what holds the cover in place is the straps and buckles right here. So this is just more for aesthetics, kind of keeping those outside corners hugged in a little bit more. I have this all tied off now right here, and now it's time to do these outside buckles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the front again, and I've raised the seat up as high as I can go. I'm going to start passing these straps back here towards these buckles. So when you pass these straps towards the back, towards those buckles, you want to go above any motors or cables as high, close to the seat foam underneath there, you can see, as close to that as possible. Just so when your seat moves up and down, it's not putting unnecessary pressure on these motors and these cables here. So you can see that's where I ran this one. I ran the other side, just about the same, right up above that. So, and then that's gone towards the back, and then we'll get the buckles strapped up here. So here it is. I've passed it from the front, now towards the back to this buckle. Gone through that middle slot, now through the outside slot, and now it's time to tighten that up. So we're gonna start tightening that up like this. Pulling it down like that. Now it is helpful if you have someone on the front side, if they can actually like sit on the seat or push their hands down on the front of the seat, that kind of helps compress that seat cover to the seat itself and just gets a little bit tighter there as you're snugging this down. But we're gonna do that to both sides now. We got the bottom all done now. That's looking good. Snug, tight fit. Looking great there. Now it's time to move on to the backrest cover here. Get this headrest out of the backrest, and you do that just by pushing in on this button right there and lift it out. So here is the cover right here. I know this is the driver backrest because here's the side airbag blowout section right here. So if you can see here's the airbag that's built into the original seat right here. If that ever needs to deploy, it's going to blow through these side Velcro tabs right there. Here's the front side with the foam backing. Wait, that's gonna go right here, and then it gets pulled over. So once you have the cover pulled over most of the way here, you're gonna see that the top section has these headrest posts right here, and this is where the headrest slides in. And it's gonna initially look like this. There's gonna be a cutout right here, and we need to get it to look like that, so that's the goal there. And what you're gonna do is use the provided install tool, and you're going to stretch that around and just kind of pry that around and then tuck it underneath. Some vehicles this is very difficult on. You may need to make it a little bit larger cutout with your scissors, but on these Tacomas it's really not bad at all, since these are a little smaller headrest posts compared to some vehicles. And so we're going to actually just stretch this around and tuck it underneath here. You can see I have it tucked around most of the way. We're just going to finish tucking this around like that. Just gonna pry it around there, and then any extra you're just gonna push underneath like that right there. So it should finish out on this section right here, tucked around like that. So now onto this point with the cover right here, you need to take this material and push it through the seat crack right here. And then this is that felt that's going to connect to that Velcro that I was talking about earlier. So you're going to push that through, and then we're going to stick that down onto the Velcro. Now that I have that material pushed through, and I went on the back side and helped kind of pull it through, I'm going to get this seat backrest in kind of the normal position that it would be in. Not all the way forward, not all the way back, kind of that middle position, the riding position right there, before I stick that felt down. So here we are on the back side now. Here's this felt right here, and now that this is in position, I can pull this nice and tight like that, and then stick it down to that Velcro. And again, that Velcro is right underneath here, and we're gonna be taking that felt and sticking that down to the Velcro right there. This is a newer method of an install, just to make it so much easier for you guys compared to the old way. And so it's just a great way to do this install. So we'll pull that, stick it down. There will be some cables here on the back side. You just want to watch out for those. And you could work this felt underneath around that cable, but you don't want to tug on that cable too hard. Same thing with this yellow cable over here. And so but what you'll do is just work around that and stick this felt down to that Velcro. That's the main goal right there. Once you have that felt stuck to the Velcro and you've confirmed on the front side that everything's looking good, you can take your seat bib, and now we're gonna take these J hooks right here, take those underneath again, and hook those back up to a solid spring underneath the seat. So we'll get this connected. Once that's connected, then you can take this cover, pull it over, and stick that down. I've now taken that cover, stuck that down right here. Nice to have that full covered from the back side right here. Here's the rear mat pocket on the back side right there. Looking good. Now we just need to do the side airbag. Here's the side airbag section right here. We're just gonna take that. There's 3 Velcro tabs on this particular pattern seat cover here, and then we're gonna pull that tight. I'm gonna use both hands to do that. Pull those tight and connect these up together here. So the backrest is all on, looking good here. So that's all put on here. Now we're gonna do that headrest cover. So here's the headrest. Here's the headrest cover. You can see the scratchy Velcro, the hook Velcros on the front, loop Velcro on the back side right there. Here's these side flaps that will come down. I'm first gonna just turn this inside out just a bit like that. And then I'm gonna start sliding this on. And a big tip with this is compress this headrest cushion down as much as you can as you're sliding it on. So oftentimes I'll put it onto a hard surface, like I'll go over maybe even on carpet and push this down on carpet and like push my knee onto it or my other hand. And then as I compress that, I'll slide the cover on, and that will help to really slide this on better. So I have this on most of the way now. As you can see, I'm compressing this cushion as I do that, compressing like that, and then pulling with the other hand as I slide this cover on right there. So now I've finished pulling that cover over and attached the Velcro right here. And again, that's the front side with that larger fabric piece. I'll give you more coverage on the front there. And there's the back side, and here's these under flaps right here. And perfect. So now we're just going to take that, stick that back into the backrest here. And with that, we are done with the front row. Looking good. Looking sweet. Realtree Extra. Loving this camo. And now we're going to move on to the back row. And again, I've already done that 40 section right there. So we're going to show you how to get this 60 section over here done. Okay, so we're working on the 60 section backrest. So we're gonna do the backrest first on this one. And just because we're gonna be kneeling on this seat, up and down on this seat initially. And so we can do backrest first here. First thing we're gonna wanna do is get these headrests out. And so you just gotta press these 2 buttons right there, like that, there. And then also this one has a middle button We're gonna have headrest covers for these, so we'll do those last. But we're just gonna get these out of the way for right now. And then the other part of this that we're gonna need to do is pull this seat belt out of this fabric right here. Okay, because the seat cover is gonna cover over all this fabric here. And then what we'll do here is we'll actually get this seat pulled up, seat base pulled up and out of the way. And then this will curl up like this right here. Helps to the install. And here's the 60 section backrest. There's this big Velcro section right here because this has this integrated seat belt in it right here. So what we're gonna do is open this up like that. Open up these sections here like that. We're gonna slide the cover. Oh, start getting that into place here. You're gonna need to make sure you pull that seatbelt out right here, and we will be taking this Velcro, getting this connected up right here. I'll just get that started for right now. The other thing that's gonna help hold this in place is popping this around these headrest post sections. And I will grab the included install tool for this right here. Help with some of that. Tuck that around. Okay. That looks good there. Also, I'll pull out this, there's that release tab right there. There we go, working those around like that. So all the headrest post sections are done. And now we can finish attaching up this Velcro right here. Trying to get that lined up good as I pull that down. Stick that Velcro on right there. That's looking pretty good. I got that lined up about where I need it to. And then this felt is actually going to pass around to the back. Okay, so there's that felt right there. What we're gonna do now is get this felt attached to the Velcro. Velcro sections here. So I'll stretch, there's this Velcro on the back side right here. I'm just gonna pull that down, stick that on. give that felt really a nice tight pull before you stick that together right there. And we'll just check that. You can probably get that felt pulled a little bit tighter. Here I'm gonna make an adjustment here, pulling that Velcro a little closer. Right there. Okay. But overall, that's looking pretty good. I probably leave it like that, but I think I can pull that felt right here a little bit more and get a little more slack out. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go this side right here. And what I'll do here is I'm gonna push down with one hand like that on this side of the cover, just to try to pull out some of that slack right here. There we go. And then pulling that tight here while I got that nice and tight. And take that cover and lock that in. Just trying to get that excess material pulled out. Right there. You wouldn't have to do it that tight if you don't want to. I mean, it's gonna either way be functional, get a good cover, but you can see I pulled out quite a bit of that slack that was in there before, and so that helps. Having two people always is nice. If someone can be pushing right here, kind of pulling that slack out right there, the excess, have the other person attach on the Velcro right there. But overall, that's looking good. And there's that seatbelt section. There's that Velcro that we connected up right there. And that's how that works with that integrated seatbelt right here. What we'll do now is do the bottom because the backrest is all done. So again, it's nice having this full coverage on the back side right here. Here's this cutout so it can attach up to here again. But nice having that covered, so if you have these seats down, you want to throw in your muddy dog back here or dirty bags or whatever it is, your tools. Got this all covered, easy to clean on the back side right there. Okay, now we're gonna work on this bottom section. So now we're doing the 60 bottom, and here's the cover. We got it, here's the underside right here, here's the top, and it's got these straps and buckles, and so we're gonna start pitting this on. And it also has a drop board that will tie out. Super nice on these Tacomas when you can fold or lift the seat up like this. A lot of trucks you can't do that on. A lot of cars you can't do that on either. So this really isn't too bad of an install if you're doing this yourself or thinking about doing it yourself. Really not too bad here. The other cars or trucks are doable too, for sure. It's just not always as easy when you can't access the seats as easily. But these are nice because you can hold them up here. Okay, sweet. So I got that initially just kind of pulled on like that right there. And I'll just try to line up, make sure my corners are get lined up here. This one has a little slit right here because I believe it's the seat belts actually that come through right there. So that's lined up, that's looking good there. And then we're gonna take these straps, take them down to these buckles down here. And what we're gonna do here is put them through, just like we did on the front seats. You go through the middle slot first, then the outside slot with the teeth after that. And we will cinch those up. But you know, actually before we finish that, I'm gonna do this drawstring right here first. So I'll draw a cord. What we'll do again is tie the noose in one side like that. Okay, so we got the noose, and then what we're gonna do is pull the slack out off right here on that side, and I'm gonna come underneath the straps. I like going underneath the straps and buckles because then it just keeps everything nice and tight underneath the seat. Keeps that string a little tighter to the seat. So, but again, what I'm doing is I'm going through that noose with the other loose cord here, and gonna draw this or pull this tight. Okay, so I'm pulling that together here, like that. There we go. And I'm just pulling the slack out. And again, you don't have to crank too hard on these, but just getting that slack out of it right there. And then I'm gonna take that, pinch that right there, and then come around and tie this off. So I tie a loop in like that right there, and then I go through again. Right like that. There we go. Okay, so we got that tied up right there now. Now I'll take these straps and go down to the buckles. And so, again, these straps are coming down to these buckles. We'll get this all tightened up. Looks like I got one buckle that I get to fish up here. What I should have done is checked and made sure all the buckles were exposed before I tied up that draw cord, but we're good. We got it out now. So again, we're just taking these through like this. We want to make sure each one is nice and snug tight here. Okay, good. So we're getting those snug tight. Now, what you can do with this extra strap material, you could cut these shorter. And you could take a lighter and melt that fabric so it doesn't fray on you. But when it catches, I mean, you wouldn't even have to do anything. You could just leave them underneath the seat like that. You can see that the cover's on, looking good. Everything up here is good to go. But I'm gonna pull this up and just show you. So the other thing I'll do is just tie a loop, or essentially just tie a knot around them like this. And it just keeps them, just keeps things a little cleaner underneath here. But again, you could, if you wanted to, go through and cut these shorter, and that would be fine. All good either way. Okay, perfect. That's looking good there. And these, you know what, I think I will take some scissors and just cut these extra strings. I could like tie that off underneath here in case if we wanted to have extra string for later. Emergency situations, always good to have a little extra string. But okay, so what we'll do there, we'll take that, and then the seatbelt, you're just gonna pull the seatbelts up. These are all the female ends of the seatbelts, and we'll just lift those up. That right there, and that cover is done, good to go. So that looks really nice. Everything is trimmed out. Look good on that. Now it's time to do these headrest covers. All right, so 2 headrest covers that we're gonna do here. The first headrest is the outside headrest. This is the larger one. It has this stitching. You can see this custom stitching on the outside, or the colored stitching. So that's the front panel. And the front panel of the seat cover is this one with the larger fabric on the front right here. Also, the hook Velcro is on the front side of this one. So we're gonna take this I'm gonna start to fit this on here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna compress this down like this. And let's see, I'll turn the seat cover inside out a little bit like that. Just like we did on the front headrest, compressing that fabric or the foam, the original seat foam there is really the key to this. The more you compress, like with the other hand, like that, the easier this goes on. And I'm just going back and forth, and compressing and pulling. Okay, we're about to the top up there. Okay, and now I'm just gonna start pulling the rest of this material, unrolling it there from what I had turned inside out. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, but I can see I need to shift the cover over this way. Like this line's too far in. This line over here is like too far around the side. So I need to shift that full cover around this way. So I'll just do this motion with that and just kind of roll that pull cover. You want these lines here to look pretty symmetrical and how lined up with the original lines, right on the seat there. Now, what we're gonna do is once we have that where we want it, we're gonna attach that Velcro, but I'm just gonna double check. Everything's looking good. Okay, the other thing you can do is take this, don't do it on your seat, but I'll do it on some like carpet, or I'll try doing some of it on the leg right here. I'm gonna finish just pulling that down. Again, your carpet's a great spot to do this on. You can just push this down, something sturdy, pull down on it, so then it just gets a little bit more of the slack out of the top there. You can see that's brought these a lot closer together. Okay, so now what we'll do is take this Velcro, and we're gonna take that Velcro and attach that together here. So I'm gonna pull like that. Whoops. Pull like that, and then stick that Velcro on like that, right there. And again, you just want to really work that cover down on there. I'm getting a little bit more slack out now if I do this. Okay, it should be a nice tight fit. Okay, that's it, looking even a little bit better. I got a little bit more slack out of that top as I push this down like that. So I'm just gonna take this and reattach it again. Okay, perfect. So that's attached up. That's looking good right there. Again, there's the front side. Sides, top there. Okay, sweet. So that looks great. So what we're gonna do with this now, I'm just gonna push this back in. Okay, so that headrest is done. Last piece of the entire set here is gonna be this small headrest right here. And this section, this is the front. The front, like, this curves towards the front side. It sits over the seat like that. So this is the front right here. So we're gonna orient ourselves. The front has a little bit more material right there. And okay, so I got this lined up here. So this one right here, there's a little bit more of a curved section right here. Kind of hard to tell on this one, but this should be the section that has kind of a steeper curve right there. That's going to be our front side. Okay, so we're going to start putting that on here. So you can see once I start, that helps to kind of get it started on right there. There's that steeper curve right on this section. And so you can see that's how that's going to go. Like that. And that's pretty simple one. Just fold right over like that. And then what we'll do here is I'm actually going to trim this Velcro a little shorter. I'm going to cut it right there just so I don't have excess Velcro. This one is a little bit more than I need right here. I don't want to have excess Velcro, but I'll just trim that a little shorter here, trim that other one shorter, so they'll attach up right there. And we should be about good to go here. So I trimmed that up right there so you can see the Velcro's stuck together there and don't have excess. Now we're just going to stick this in here. Okay, we have that middle headrest in now, that small middle headrest, 2 outside headrests, and we are done with this install. So everything's looking great, and good job if you've been working through this. Thanks so much for watching. Again, this has been Neil here with Covers and Camo, your source for custom seat covers. To see more, go to coversandcamo.com. We offer seat covers for trucks, Jeeps, cars, SUVs, and UTVs. So if you have a vehicle you're thinking about getting seat covers on, you need to jump over to coversandcamo.com. Again, Covers and Camo, your source for custom seat covers.